Mayor, you ready? We're going to call our meeting to order. Today's the regular city council meeting. It's Tuesday, June 27th. We're in the Public Works building, and we're going to stand for our invocation, followed by the pledge of allegiance.
Thank you for this day. We come to you, just ask you to be with us. Lord, we know that according to your word that you're still God. And it's to you we look for help, and we ask you to be with us. Ask you to help us in every decision, every statement that's made. We trust in you, Father, in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Andy, you want to call the roll, please?
Mayor Miller?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Hamilton?
Here.
Mr. Welly?
Here.
Mr. Wolf?
Here.
I'm going to skip mayor's comments tonight, move to citizens' comments. When you come up to the podium, you'll have 3 minutes. State your name and your address.
Diane Kenny, 223 Kim Cove, Union Council. First of all, I'd like to say that Doug Baber has been a real asset to the city since he started. Congratulations on your new position, Doug.
Thank you.
That city is getting real visionary and hardworking employee. I want to apologize that I didn't speak up more when you were being berated publicly meeting after meeting. Best to you and your family. You're certainly a man of integrity, and we thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you.
I've been either watching or attending each of the council meetings, and I have some real concerns. I believe that our mayor is creating a hostile environment at these meetings, and that it's reverberating throughout City Hall and affecting our employees and dividing the cities in this great city. When council members, our attorney, or our employees are trying to talk, the mayor is stopping them from talking. However, you allow non-citizens to get up and talk and throw out unproven allegations, and you don't try to correct them. You are all part of this council, and all of you should be controlling these meetings and respecting each other and our citizens. Let's concentrate on team building. If there's anything wrong, let's hear about it. If there's any money laundering or illegal use of FEMA funds as been stated, prove it. This has got to stop, because we the citizens are entitled to hear what all of our council members, our city attorney, and our employees have to say. After all, we the citizens pay your salaries and have elected you to these positions, and we're entitled to be able to listen to all that is being discussed. We as citizens would like to hear you start discussing the operations of Mexico Beach and all of your visions for our future. Let's move forward.
Thank you.
You can't clap. Hi, Tim King, 504 Kathy Lane. You get a milk so I don't figure out what I'm doing. First thing I'd like to say is that recently somebody questioned my faith. I'm a member of a local church, very, very active in my church. And someone told a member of my church that they couldn't believe that I was a Christian because I got up, and by the way, I'm the one that got up, pointed, and yelled at people. No one else, just me. And I have that right. But I never told somebody that they did something wrong that it wasn't the truth. I've only told the truth. And if you don't like it, too bad. There you go. And so, all I said to Mr. Baber that night was he should read the Constitution. That's all I thought. But when I call Mr. Baber and tell him that an elected official and an employee of the city violates the law, and his answer to me is to mind my own business, it doesn't concern me. That's wrong. I'm glad he's not my neighbor, I'll tell you that.
That's not true what he said.
That is
Sorry, I
true.
don't like people getting up here,
That is
citizen
true.
comments and making comments about me and him. It's not true. Telling the truth is
Point of
something.
order, please.
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't
But
say
Point
that's-
of order, please, Mr. Jerry.
I
It's
just want
citizens'
him,
comments.
no, ma'am, he's not gonna
We're
get up
not
there and
answering
talk
back.
about me.
Let the council speak. Let them speak. We're citizens.
Okay,
Our
point of
council
order,
needs to
please.
speak. Hate to follow that, but I am. Al Caffey, 140 Palm Street. Purpose of me being here tonight is to sort of clarify what was shown at the meeting, the last meeting, in terms of validating what this council and this administration and this mayor is claiming to be the powers of the mayor. It is clear that the operational position of the mayor is not listed in the charter. What is clearly listed in the charter is all powers, not some powers, all powers are given to the city council. The governing body of this city is the city council. Clear, undisputed. What is being claimed is not something I ever practiced. It's not something that is archived in the city hall. It's being an operational officer of this city because, and why? Surely someone would ask. In the transition of power, when elected officials come and go, why is there not a clear path by which that is done? What you are exhibiting in terms of leadership is embarrassing. There is no mayor, there is no council member that has the power to declare themselves an operational officer of this city. The sentence in the charter that says the mayor is a chief elected administrative and physical officer of the city with no defined powers. Why is that? This charter is 6 decades old. Don't you think someone somewhere would have defined what that is? How did they define it? They wrote it down through an ordinance. An ordinance is recognized by the charter as the governing method by which laws are written and powers are transferred. Very simple. A mayor doesn't change it, an attorney doesn't change it, you change it. If you don't like it, alter it. Any claim by any elected official that they are the governing operational officer is simply renegade. It's unfounded, it has no merit, it's not archived in our city anywhere. There's no precedent for that. So I urge you as a council member, let your voice be heard, let your vote be counted. You, by the charter, are the governing body of this city, period. All powers are vested to you. In closing, I want to let you know, I see that you have adopted or chosen to adopt a charter review committee. I might suggest, if you practice respect for those of you that occupy the governing powers of our city, would go a lot further than trying to find some words that don't exist in the charter.
My name is Gary Woodham. I live at 113 North 38th Street, Mexico Beach. I'm sure that most of y'all here know what transpired over the years between St. Joe Company and the city, how they took advantage of us. Well, I'm here today to hopefully rectify or get y'all to stand behind us on 36th Street. When the bridge was built there, most of you are aware that the state came back and said they were going to tear up the road over there where St. Joe is right now, because they had to furnish those of us who lived on the other side of the bridge egress and ingress to our location while the bridge was being built. That's by law. Well, when it came time to tear it up, the city said, ask St. Joe, or ask the state, please don't tear up that road, because those people who live over in the area where I live could be in a situation where we had to get out in a hurry. So the city said, the state said okay, and the city said the only time that that road can be used is for emergency egress and ingress, and it's being left wide open today. Our community, the little street, 36th Street, when it was built, this whole city, I've been here 28 years and own property here 33, and those little streets that we got over there are not designed for a lot of large traffic. And when you put a 30-foot or a 40-foot boat in a dually pulling 5 or 6 of them down through there, it really is taking havoc on the road and the people. There's a lot of people over there that like to walk with their kids, ride bicycle, and it's gotten to the point where it's so dangerous that you can't do that. I'm asking you people to please, and if anybody says it can't be done because the gate's on St. Joe's property, all you gotta do is move that gate 10 feet on the city right away. It belongs to the city. Nobody can tell y'all what to do. But this council has got to look out for its citizens. Please don't let them use 36th Street and leave it open full time, because somebody's gonna get hurt over there, and it's unnecessary. Thank you.
Good evening. Melaine Hardwick, 116 37th Street. And I'd really like to personally address Mayor Miller tonight, since she didn't return my phone call from last week. To my knowledge, you've never been an elected official before, and to my knowledge, you've never been a mayor. And there's nothing wrong with that, other than the fact that you lack experience in this position. Prior to the election, we had a team of very competent and skilled employees, and we still do. Mayor Miller, in the short time since you've been elected, we've lost 2 skilled and extremely competent employees and a contractor. This is very concerning to me. A strong leader with no experience would listen and learn from the team, and instead, in my opinion, you took office to immediately seek power, control, and make accusations. As a citizen who's been observing you as our mayor, it's my opinion you need to develop the skill to become a good listener and consider thoughts and ideas from the council and employees. Employees are the greatest asset a company can ever have. I've watched as you've talked down to people, interrupted people, and allowed the council meetings to be conducted in an extremely unprofessional manner. A good leader also takes responsibility for success as well as failures. I personally hold you responsible for the loss of our city administrator, Doug Bader. If you don't change, we will continue to lose great employees. You were recently quoted in the paper when interviewed regarding Doug's resignation, and you said, "Our city is experiencing change right now. Change is always hard." It is. But I hope you weren't implying that Doug couldn't adjust to the change. I believe Doug is very accustomed to change in his position. But have you considered that you need to embrace change? Our city will suffer for the rest of your term if you don't think about this. Consider how you can make positive changes for the better of our community. Thank you for listening, and please consider my thoughts. And thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Anyone else?
Rob Cruz, 422 Colorado Drive. 2 things. First, I've been coming to these meetings since I moved here. And everybody sitting here right now, mayor, council people, the only one was Adrian, who was the city clerk at the time. After the hurricane, this place was turmoil. I mean, nobody knew up and down where money was coming from, what was happening, couldn't find contractors, this or that. I mean, we didn't know the city was going bankrupt. There was no police, everything was wiped out. One thing, everybody who sat at this table They didn't see eye and eye all the time, but they got along, and they got stuff done. And haven't said anything the last 2 months. I've been keeping quiet, but enough is enough. Time to move on with that. Get over it, because it's hurricane season. I don't want to see something happen again and have conflict and keep going and going. I don't see why this is even happening. I mean, I look at all the finances. Everybody, what's his face, was saying $100 million came in from FEMA and everything else. I'm sure there were some things done that weren't exactly 100% perfect. They couldn't even find contractors back then to do anything. Trying to clean up the streets, getting water and sewage and everything else. I mean, the place was turmoil. You lived here, you know. Was here, Jerry was here. The only person sitting up here all the time was, like I said, was Adrian. He's seen what was going on. So, it's time to work together. Second thing, we got a new website out, and not a website, Facebook page, whatever, talking about golf carts. That's been an issue that you've heard for the last year after year after year. It keeps coming up. And people answered, there was a pretty good poll about going back to, it's maybe time for you guys to consider going back to registering the golf carts. And Lisa sent a big email, what happened in the past with the registrations and why that went away because it took too much time, blah, blah, blah. There shouldn't be a time, nobody should be inspecting golf carts. But my personal opinion is they should be registered. Should come up, get a sticker. If it costs 20 bucks, oh well, 10 bucks, whatever, to cover the city's costs. Here's the regulations. Right now, the sheriffs, the deputies can tell you. They find a golf cart somewhere, they don't have a clue who it belongs to. There's no way to figure that out. And parking and everything else and what's going on, everybody coming in here, it's time to do registrations again, hand them a set of rules and regulations and account to it. You know, I've seen people online, what about all these rentals? People are renting out their golf carts and doing this and that. You're the city, golf carts don't even have to be allowed here. You can do whatever. You can say golf carts are just for the people who actually live here. If you're a tourist coming in, renting a house, you want a golf cart, go to one of the places and rent an LSV. But something needs to be done. It's getting out of control. It really is. Think about it. Thank you.
Any other citizen comments?
I can't.
Sheila Gardner, Hornsby, 111 20th Street. I'd really decided that I wouldn't do this tonight because I knew I'd be emotional driven. I listened to Melanie. I listened to Mr. King, Blair, as he done to Doug, as he's done to other people. And at some point, Mayor, you do have to stop. And you've got to stop this bullying that's going on. Whether you like him, her, or any of the rest of them, it's got to stop. You've said in several meetings, you are the chair of this meeting, and you are. So whether you agree or you disagree, or they're people, your friends, or whatever, all that's got to go to the wayside. I agree with Rob. Enough's enough. We spent almost 2 months, and what have we got accomplished? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. If somebody can show me where something's been done since the hurricane that's wrong, I will be the first one, I promise you all, God is my witness, I will be the first one that is lined up, ready to prosecute whoever it is that has screwed the city up that I live in. But if it's not, let's move on. Because all this crap that's going on isn't helping anybody. You've destroyed, you have put stuff, you have allowed stuff to be said right here that has attacked this man's integrity, that man's integrity, and will impact them from days on. It bothers me to no end that not only are these two people impacted, but their families are, their children are. If somebody called you a crook, if somebody told you that you were stealing, would you sit there and take it? And how long would you take it? You said you didn't understand. It came as a shock that he left. I really can't understand that. I would have left probably after the first meeting. I commend him for everything he has done for our city. the endless hours, 10 o'clock at night, Sunday, Saturday, holidays, whatever. If you want to know something, text him, email him, call him, Facebook him. He's there. We haven't had that. And I'm afraid we won't get it back. And I'm afraid whoever you try to put in that spot is just going to turn things upside down. And I hope I'm wrong, but I'm afraid I'm right. So I hope you use caution. I hope you don't jump as fast as we've been jumping. But I hope that these meetings going forward are carried in a different manner.
Alex Hogan, I live on 7th Street. You know, sitting here listening to this, and this has been going on, all this talking back and forth, accusing here, people. I have yet to hear the mayor talk about Glenn, Tommy, Sandy. Perhaps these two, but you're making it sound like she's accusing the entire workforce. And that's absolutely not true. Use your head. Okay? Use your head. Now this is ridiculous that Julie said we've been doing this for 3-4 weeks. And every time y'all get up there and badmouth the mayor or whoever,
Can you just direct her toward us, please?
okay, whoever, you know, we're talking about, whether it be you, Adrian, Mr. Wolf, Doug, Mr. Cahill, it doesn't matter. She and the rest of you were elected by the majority of the people. So yes, we do need to move on and quit getting up here and saying all the wrongs and rights. Let's get this together and let's move forward. I mean, this is ridiculous time after time after time. We talk bad about everybody. Okay, this is gone, people. We got a new mayor, we got a new council. So we need to do something instead of talk. Let's do something positive. Let's give support to the community instead of talk about it. You know, don't argue. It first started out, first meeting the mayor had, it was chaos. You know, but in my mind what it was chaos is the first time in years the community people were allowed to speak up and talk without being cut short. Okay, maybe she did lose control, and maybe because she is new. It doesn't matter. But the people here, I think, are starting to adjust to now coming up here and putting out good comments instead of negative all the time. And that's all we are, negative. You know, so everybody in here should reflect upon what you really want. You know, and we all want the same thing. I do believe that. So let's quit bickering on who's doing it. Let's work together. Thank you.
Susan Kamak, 2802 Highway 98. I own Mexico Beach Suites. I want to say to you, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
You came in, you just thrived. You thrived. And it was an honor to work with you with all the events you gave the citizens of this community to have. I want to say as a business owner to the council, I have worked hard since the hurricane and opening up the sweet shop to have a thriving business that the community wants to come to and our tourists want to come to. And there's not many of us out there. We lack in businesses. We lack in things that this community needs. So as a business owner, I would ask you, the council, to let's work on getting businesses, work together, have someone to go out and help get us these businesses we need, because I will tell you from not only the citizens of the city, but the visitors that we have, and they're coming in more frequently now, they love this town, but we lack. We lack. There's not a lot. So I love owning the store. I love being here. I have so enjoyed working with Doug. It was a pleasure. I hate he's leaving. So I ask you, let's get some thriving businesses in here. Get people who want to be here and support this community and the tourists that we have. Please. Thank you.
Any other citizens' comments? Okay. Close the citizens' comments. We're going to move to our consent agenda. I just read the minutes ahead of time. These are from June 13th meeting. Do I have a motion to accept the June 13th consent agenda meeting minutes?
Make a motion that we accept the consent agenda from June 13th, 2023.
Do I have a second?
Only that the minutes have some dates that are on it.
Okay.
I mean, if
Do we have some
something needs to
changes?
be corrected, I'm sure I'll pass them on to Doug.
So you want to change the motion?
No, I'm just gonna change the date so it's right, the minutes, that's all.
Yes.
Did you make a motion?
Should make a motion to accept them as is.
There's a minor change on item number 2, ma'am.
Okay.
And it should be say June 28th is the employee luncheon, and it says the 21st. We can correct that with Tammy, and
Okay.
maybe you can get a motion to approve amended minutes.
Amended minutes, okay. Anybody want to get a motion for amended minutes?
Oh, I have to amend my motion.
Your motion.
In other words, change it so that we're going to accept it after
After
the
the,
date change
correct.
of the employee luncheon, and that will now be June 28th date.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we're going to, any against? We'll accept the consent agenda as motion. All right. This moves into our regular agenda. First on the agenda will be Michael. It's the development of order for Esmeralda. Before Michael gets started, I will need to tell you that I am going to abstain from a vote on this due to ethical reasons. Prior to becoming mayor, I signed a petition, so I prefer ethically not. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, if that's the case, I have also signed a petition. Then I guess I'll abstain as well.
You got 15 days to put in your notice. I'll tell you how to do it. Yeah.
Can I ask a point of order?
Yes, sir.
So since we have 2 recusing themselves from abstaining, there'll be 3 remaining votes. Is it a 2-1 or is it a 3 majority?
A 2-1 would still be a majority.
Just making sure. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All right, well,
All
good
right,
evening,
Michael,
council.
you're on.
First, I have to say I apologize. You're going to have to get my best Harley impression. Unfortunately, she is flying away this evening for a vacation that she has really earned. So I'll do my best to fill in her stead on this particular item. The item before you is an application for site work development order for August Esmeralda. It is a 38 single-family residential subdivision located on 15th Street. So a little bit of the project history. The item went before Planning and Zoning on May 5th, 2022. It was recommended for approval by a 4-to-1 vote with the following recommendations: that the entrance and exit be moved to a safer location, and that sidewalks be added to 15th Street. Subsequently, this item was scheduled for the City Council agenda on May 10th, 2022. They voted unanimously to table the item until there was more information submitted regarding the floodplain impacts. The item was then brought back before City Council on February 14th, 2023. It was unanimously approved with the following conditions: the item be consistent with Policy 6.2.1 and Policy 6.2.11, and condition number 2, the applicant explores moving the entrance to the north on 15th Street. The submission seeks to address the conditions included within the City Council's preliminary plat approval and request development order approval for site work. Within the packet that you have the application for the development order, a project narrative from the applicant, the wetland permit notice, plan review, floodplain review, and select permit plans. We are asking for council to review the application for site work development order, and staff recommends approval. As the applicant has received a wetland impact permit from FDEP, the city can consider the site as permitted for filled or altered in conformance with these rules, regulations, statutes, and this code. This action will create an area that no longer functions as a wetland, where the development is permitted to occur, in accordance with section 4.03.05.B.3.B. This FDEP permit will need to remain active as a condition of this approval. The applicant has met the requirements of section 4.03.05.B.2 for compensatory wetland mitigation. Including the on-site canal and wetlands, these protective measures listed in the packet for the proposed development are in line with the Land Development Code to aid in the prevention of significant adverse effects on the protected environmentally sensitive zones that are not being proposed to be impacted. Because of this, the requirement is met. With these findings, the application is found to meet the requirements of policy 6.2.1. In terms of the significant public need, that was addressed in the proposal for the bridge that will go over the canal, which will address pedestrian foot traffic, bicycles, golf carts, all those items. It will provide a safe route for people living on that part of 15th Street to get direct access down 12th Street to the beach. It will eliminate people walking on the shoulder over that very dangerous for pedestrians on the 15th Street vehicle bridge. And let's see. Oh, of course, the access on 15th Street. So the applicant did move that entrance further to the north, and then they left the one that was originally proposed that will be an access point only. They've eliminated the exit onto 15th Street at that point. And then they've also kept it at a width that would be eligible for fire trucks and other emergency personnel. The application for development order for site work has been reviewed against the comprehensive plan and land development code, and the item is recommended for approval by Carly's team and staff. With that, I believe the applicant is here as well. They may want to add something. Otherwise, that's all I got. Or not. They may wait until you get questions.
All right. Open into public comments.
Total discussion of the petition, and then this is just the reading that's in that petition for the Hi, Jamie Linderman, 105 St. Francis Street. I'm presenting a petition today, so we, the undersigned 176 residents of Mexico Beach, present a petition to the mayor and city council that we do not support the development or impact of the wetlands located in parcel ID 04175-010-000, which is referred to as Aguas Esmeraldas. We understand that the developer has made several changes to the original development request, and that the city engineer states that the comprehensive plan and land development code requirements are now met. However, we do not feel that this adequately protects the quality and quantity of environmentally sensitive lands per the requirements of the comprehensive plan, page 6-1 through 6-3. Lastly, contrary to what the developer originally claimed, there is not overriding community support for the development of this wetland. Thanks.
Jean Byrne, 101 Ocean Plantation. My understanding is, after the hurricane, there was a grant that was made out for the city to purchase that property, to keep it green. There were plans for a park access, canoeing, kayaking, whatever. And that subsequently, that grant has been approved for the city to purchase that property. And curious as to why, if that was the case, that never went through. And then now we're dealing with a plan to develop that and to take over some of the wetlands. So I would like that clarified by somebody on the council, if they're aware of it, because that seems significant. Thank you.
Want to address that, Doug?
Yeah, I can. There was no grant for purchase of that land. We did receive the regional stormwater money to go with the regional stormwater facility on the 80 acres on the far end of town. However, there's no purchase of property included in there. That property at the time was asked about purchasing after the storm, and the price now, when we tried to go back and buy it, was not affordable. So there was no grant for purchase of that land, just to be clear.
Well, that's not my understanding. And I believe that the,
Do you want to come back up?
oh, I'm sorry. The Army Corps of Engineers was involved, there were citizen committees that were involved, so.
And they subsequently denied that. Mr. Smith was part of that. The Army Corps tried their best to get the money, and they could not. So that was off the table. Okay.
I went to a meeting over there with them, and they all the way to wherever they from.
We'll discuss it when it comes to our
I'm
table.
sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Tim Linderman, 105 St. Francis Street. I have prepared a kind of crude PowerPoint drawing that I would like to pass out. First off, I want to state that I'm on the P&Z board, and I voted recommendation for this development, so I'm not against the development. However, I still have some concerns about the development. And the first one, I think David can address, is my crude analysis, I'm not a civil engineer, is that the detention ponds are at the top of the hill, and the ground slopes downhill from about 11 to 12 feet in elevation down to the canal at about 2 feet. And my concern is how they're getting that stormwater, that excess rainwater, from that entire area into the detention ponds, because the requirement is to treat that water. I think that's the process for treating it. If Mr. Rising could please address that. Is that okay? Or do you want to do that later?
It's public meet, open to public, so he's part of that.
Yeah, if you'd like to have a response from him, he's prepared for that response.
Okay. You want me to come up there?
Yes,
Please.
I guess first, this is my first appearance in front of the new mayor and councilwoman. My name's Dave Rice, and I'm with Dewberry Engineers. The city has retained Dewberry to review the developments that come forth in front of the city for compliance. What Mr. Linderman was talking about is basically this site. First off, what you're looking at is basically kind of as-is condition as far as the topography goes. So when the developer comes in, he's going to regrade the site to some extent. He's going to put stormwater infrastructure in, which is basically he's putting pipes in the ground, which are going to be lower than the existing site itself. Those pipes are going to carry the water into the stormwater pond. There is a, in the land development code, there is an allowance where they can tie in roof drains into the pipe system. So what they're doing is they're tying the roof drains to the houses, which is the impervious area, which is what's going to require the treatment, is going straight into the stormwater pipes and into the stormwater ponds. So just because the ground doesn't necessarily flow, all of it flows to the pond, it is getting treated, it's going to be picked up.
How is the water moving uphill?
It's not, the pipes flow to the pond.
Mm-hmm. So there'll be, how deep is the pond?
The open space is about 3 feet of depth, and the actual water depth itself is probably 5 to 8 feet.
Sorry, for the record, that's Brad Harris. He's the engineer for record for the developer.
I mean, to get a permit from the state, you have to demonstrate all the design meets the criteria that they put forth, and obviously they've done that. They've got the permit from the Water Management District for it.
So, I'm not sure about the 3 minutes apply to this public
No,
comments.
that's fine.
I just
I
have a
appreciate
couple
you.
more, thank you. No, you're fine, thank you. I just have a
Thank you,
couple
Dave.
other questions or points. So, my concern with this development is not the development itself, it's the destruction of this wetland and the impact on our stormwater capability, especially since we don't have anything in place. I know the future is for detention pond and for collection of some of that water to go into it, but currently we don't. So I'm very concerned that this wetland, and we've done a lot of wetlands, and I've been told that I live in a wetland, Casuna, that was once a swamp or a wetland and was developed like this. But at what point are we going to follow the comprehensive plan that says protect sensitive lands or change the comp plan? And I don't think we're protecting sensitive lands. Now, I understand there's the issue of private property and some other things. So I would recommend that you take a hard look at some grants for purchasing some identified property and take a look at, if we're gonna have, if they're gonna do mitigation credits and take wetlands in our area, let's at least try and get those mitigations applied to, at least in our watershed, so it helps us, because right now Mexico Beach is getting nothing for these mitigation credits. The state might be, but we aren't. And we only have so much wetlands to save. And I understand it's Florida, you're gonna develop wetlands, but I caution you to be careful with what the impact on our current stormwater system is in doing that. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Steve Cox, 225 Charles Corner. I would just echo Tim's comments. I think it's gone on long enough, and council needs to draw a hard line in the sand. We can't keep piecemeal approving a little residential development here, there, and everywhere. We need to address our big problem, and it's stormwater management. And it's been ignored for year after year after year. We're in a position now where it needs to move to the very top of the heap. And this council has the opportunity to do that right here tonight. Thank you.
Any other citizens? Any other comments?
Here, Rockbridge, Colorado, it's like Tim said, same thing with the wetlands. I mean, look at what's back there, and the state comes back and says, yeah, it's wetlands, but it's so-so wetlands. So it's okay to buy a credit elsewhere and take that away. And that's the continuing problem that goes on around here. All the wetlands are designated not as a high, but low. And everybody that comes to all these developments around here, it comes back the same way. The state says you can buy your credits, pull those down, and put something in there. But as you know, we have the stormwater problem, and it's not going to go away. And right now, like you said, there's no infrastructure in place. That's going to be years down the road. That 80 acres that we just got, that's you ain't even going to be touching that for years. Doug knows that. You got to get money to do all that. That's a major expense. And how it's supposed to go the other way and out into Salt Creek in the back out here, it's the same thing. I guarantee it's probably going to be 5 years before the first scoop of dirt even comes out of anything.
I just have one more question. Oh,
Jane.
One more question. I just wanted to know, at one point during the P&Z meetings, all the permits and everything were not signed. One of them was stamped, I understand, but not signed. Are they all signed and legal now?
Yes, ma'am, everything is done.
Sir, you patiently waited.
I've been gone a few weeks. John Harrell, 43 First Street, or as I like to say, last house in Bay County. I have a question, since we have a realtor there, and Doug hasn't left yet. What is the minimum square footage of a lot now in Mexico Beach?
Eighth of an acre. Buildable. Buildable has to be an eighth of an acre.
Yeah. Which is, how many square feet? Well, because in LDC, it says low residential, you can have up to 6 houses on an acre. Is that correct?
8.
Low residential is 6. Fill it out. I believe it's 6.
This is met the criteria though for the planning department. Remember they could get like 60 units, is what they had available, they did, and they're only coming in at 38 for the house.
Well, wait a minute. That's why I'm going back to the LDC. This is my question. What is the minimum lot? 'Cause we-
7,250 square feet.
How much?
7,250 square feet.
For the record, that's Bo Creel from EPCI.
Okay.
Hey, Mo.
Hey, Bob, thanks. Now, my question to the builder, maybe y'all can answer this. In the packet, it said the minimum lot is 5,500 square feet. Is that a misprint and you meant to be 7,500? Builder, developer.
He's looking.
Oh.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's kind of crowded in here.
Yeah, when I read the packet, it said 5,500.
Whatever you said, I'm not.
Is that correct? Is it in the packet? Come on, Adrian.
But does it matter?
Does it matter?
Does it matter?
I think
They have eligible to build up to 60 units, so.
Not if you follow the LDC.
100% if you follow the LDC.
The purpose of the LDC, if I'm correct, is we have a minimum size of lots, so we don't have smaller lots jammed in. And if they got plenty of acreage, then they can have bigger lots and may not be able to do more units because of wetlands. That is my question for the council and for the citizens. Okay? So just think it over and before you do it.
Just as a point of record, this has been approved by the planner that we hire as a contractor to review all these documents.
Okay. Point of order.
Hi, John Alba, 200 Virginia Drive. Just as a general rule, I'm opposed to development of wetlands. I love wetlands and understand them. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
There are people in the back.
Can we have a point of order, please, in the room, all the way to the back? Thank
Ever
you.
since I first learned about wetlands in science class, I've always been opposed to their development. And I agree with a lot of the comments that have just been previously stated, that at some point we need to draw a line and say stop. Also, Mr. Kreis's comment, it feels like Mexico Beach is being used to the benefit of other areas in the state. I don't understand how this benefits or how that wetland credit offset helps us. I feel like we're helping other people, we're not helping ourselves. So last point is 176 people on that petition for a small town that's barely 1,000 folks. That should tell you that there's a lot of folks out here who don't like that. And I didn't see that petition, so make it 177. So, all right. Those are my comments. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Public, discussion's still open.
Lance Watson, Southeastern Consulting Engineers. I'm not the engineer on this project, but I do the same type design and presentations, so I wanted to clarify something on the minimum lot size. And there is no minimum lot size. There's a density, but there is no minimum lot size. So 8 units per acre, and you put a right-of-way, you put common area, you put a pool, you put a bathhouse, you put a tennis court, pickleball court, whatever you want to put, as long as you're under that density, then the acreage divided by density does not equal minimum lot size, because there's a specific sentence in the LDR that says there is no minimum lot size. So until the LDR is updated, there's no minimum lot size, and it's not based on acreage divided by density. And so I just wanted to clarify that.
That's correct.
Dick McCoy was some, just to step back to the wetland. I have a question actually. Does the water that percolates through that wetland and into the holding pond eventually end up in the 8th Street Canal? And if it does, that's gonna
make the beach much more contaminated every time it rains and all that dirty water goes down 8th Street Canal. I just wonder if that's the case or not.
Yeah, it will. It outfalls into the ditch, which will eventually connect into the Gulf. through that
So
canal.
all the water that would
Go both ways.
normally percolate through down harmlessly in that watershed
Well,
is going to end up
most
flowing into
likely,
the
you're not
street.
getting a lot of percolation because that's kind of how the wetland established in the beginning, is the water wasn't going anywhere. So the vegetation grew. But yeah, they're discharging into the ditch, and it will make its way into the canal. Now, I'll tell you that the water coming from that canal is the color that it is not because of Mexico Beach. It's basically all the upstream coming from Gulf County.
Well, that was my concern.
Fix the problem.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Am I okay to close the public comment? All right, we're gonna close.
I see a hand way back there.
Do we have a hand back there?
Way back there.
Okay, hang on. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Smith. I didn't
Can't
see
see
you.
that far.
My name's Zach Farrell, I'm the developer of the property. The best way to describe this wetland is having a little hole in your backyard. It's isolated, it's not doing anything, it's not beneficial at all. That's the reason you get, doctorates to come in and say, we see this all the time, this is low quality, it's isolated, so therefore, go mitigate somewhere else where it is actually good quality wetlands and you're preserving those. That's the whole point of wetland mitigation. So that's, we hire those people to do that. We go to DEP. If they were high quality, DEP would say, absolutely not, circle it off, get away from it, but they see that there's no point in it. So that's how the whole wetland mitigation thing works. We also, part of this packet was we are donating to the city the 8th Street Canal that we own. We're donating it to the city to maintain and keep up. We did everything that the council asked during the preliminary plat. We moved the entrance road. The neighbors to the east of us, we're going to grade that off and make that ditch actually drain like it's supposed to. It's a big mess right now. So we're trying to be good stewards here. We could have built 60 units. We're only doing 38. I doubt any of those neighbors would want a 4-story condo building in their backyard. We could have stayed away from the wetlands doing that. But we could make a lot more money doing that, but we want to be good stewards to the city. I've been coming down here for over 43 years. I've been building houses and developing for 20 years here. Haven't gone anywhere yet.
Any other public comments before we close the? All right, closing the public comment, discussion at the table.
So is the applicant, have they shown that there is an overriding public interest in the development or impact to wetlands?
Yeah, I can speak to that. I don't know, how does this work when they've recused themselves?
Yeah.
Does she have to pass the gavel at this point?
Yeah, actually, really.
Oh, I can't say anything, even though I can't vote, I understand that, but I don't understand why I can't say anything.
Because you're influencing.
Wouldn't anybody's comment influence something? Anybody that's gonna say anything could influence.
Yeah, but this is for the vote. I mean, discussing the
I mean,
vote.
she can.
We can't hear the lawyer.
Can she unrecuse herself or abstain herself? I mean,
She
she
could.
hasn't filled out the paperwork.
Well, you can fill out the paperwork afterward.
Yeah.
That's not really a big deal. Yeah, if she wants to. I mean, I've discussed this with the mayor. I don't necessarily think because you signed that petition prior to being in office that causes you to have to abstain.
And-
The mayor wanted to do that as
Yeah, it's,
so that
to
there's
me, it's
no hint
ethical.
of
It's no,
impropriety. I don't think you necessarily have to.
it's
if you
not
don't want
legal,
to.
it's just ethical for me.
Okay, so I can vote, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if you like.
choose to.
Right.
Your decision.
And can I make further comments?
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. So the other thing, in our packet, we had received a permit approval, which is stamped really big with the big, green approved, but it was never signed.
Yeah, we get those electronically from the floodplain reviewer that's a third party. It will be signed in the final packet. That approval coming with their email and their signature approval is how we work.
So were the comments addressed that were made by our floodplain manager, Gina Johnston?
Yes, ma'am. They had several different reviews throughout this policy, and they said that it has met all their requirements.
So the proposed fill that is over the allowable amount does not exist?
They
Is
didn't
that
go
part
over
of
the
it?
1 foot of fill that they're allowed to put in there. They went back and forth for quite a while to confirm that, different calculations. Brad, the engineer here for the developer, can answer that question if you'd like. But yes, ma'am, they went through everything, and that's why we pay that consultant to review those. Your previous comment, I can answer that for you as well, of overriding public interest. Just from me, as my point of view to you, and what the developer has put in the packet, they're adding a bridge that's going to go over the canal behind their property. It's going to be wide enough for golf carts to pass and pedestrians. This gets the city out of paying the $500,000 to eventually put a pedestrian bridge on 15th Street, and it causes, and their development is open to the public. Anybody can go through there, get across to 12th Street and up to the beach. So that was where the overriding.
It's moving it to 12th Street, not 15.
Correct. That gets them through the neighborhood, across the water, and up to the beach that way, where there is a dune walkover straight down the hill. So that was part of their overriding thing that they were saying that they were doing for the city for us.
Okay. You said that we do not have a grant. I was informed yesterday that there is a grant in the tune of about $8.5 million, and it is still an active grant that could be used, that certainly could purchase this property and eliminate the destroying of these wetlands. Wetlands are like being pregnant, either you are or you're not. Wetlands are very important.
Understood. So we do have that grant, yes, ma'am.
So why can't we use it?
Well, he wanted $5 million for the property a year ago, and that wasn't feasible at the
Well,
time.
why can't we negotiate that?
We tried. He's got all the way down the
Well,
track.
if the grant's for 8.5,
Then I agree to disagree. I don't have an answer for you.
okay, then we don't need to just close it. That's still for negotiation, right?
Pardon?
If we have a grant that surpasses the amount of money that he's willing to sell the property for, why can't we consider that grant?
What are you going to use to build the regional stormwater facility and all the design and implementation that has to go into that? That's all part of that. That's the storage pond, and we already bought that property for that to go on a year or so ago for the $60,000 from the St. Joe Company. So we did use that money to purchase that property, but there was no money in there to buy this additional property.
Maybe we need to negotiate harder.
You'll have
on
an
the price of the
opportunity.
land.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
Well, it's just so disturbing to know that we're also gonna come in and cut down all the trees. We're a tree city. Does that make a lot of sense?
Good news is they've gone down from the 100% wetland mitigation that they were going to use down to 70%. They reduced their impervious surface by far. I don't know the number off the top of my head. They've added in pervious pavers instead of concrete asphalt driveways. The developer has gone above and beyond. They are going to be required to plant trees. Maybe somebody from the building department can talk about how many trees they have to plant per house, but they're going to take down all those ones that have been destroyed. That's my 2 cents.
Ms. Lee? Anything else? Mr. Smith, you're up.
I want to know about this pregnant business myself. I've been in litigation before. I really believe that if you would get someone to sit down with somebody, like what happened to me, and you know how everybody's always got a story, but the state come through my pond, wetlands, a pond, and they litigated that land out. If you, that's something I believe we all need to check into. I believe that if they got all the grants and everybody did they have to pay a high dollar amount of money to get that stamp right there. It's not cheap. I can tell you that much right now. And if they've got everything, I'm in favor for it. There's nothing that says that Carly, Michael, anybody that I know of got in, that they didn't
passed everything they were supposed to do, get all the permits. So they did everything they were supposed to do, and I think we should pass it.
I think that's it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Willie?
I have a couple of things. One of them, I want to go back to Mr. Linderman talking about the fall here. I'm curious because I don't think I heard the answer. How much fill is going to be brought in to bring it up to 7 feet to equal the elevation of those ponds?
Well, they were highly restricted based on the floodplain manager, the fill required. I don't know the overall, Mr. Bracken.
Brad, can you answer that question?
Yeah.
I'm gonna come up front, sir.
I mean, you're looking at 7 feet of fall.
They changed it to stem walls and,
So in regards to the, Brad Harris, I was the engineer for the project. In regards to the stormwater pond location, if you look at the existing grade lines, it's at existing grade, pretty much relative to where everything else on the property is. There's a lower spot higher than
Have you seen this one, Brad?
middle right here.
That's not the one you're.
I don't have this thing. Nah.
somebody.
It shows the retention ponds at 8 feet, but yet the back of the property is at 3 feet. So how does the
There
water
are
go
no
from
properties
3
at
feet?
3 feet that I know of.
As David said earlier, this doesn't take into what they're gonna fill into the property and for the development. This bigger plan that you have has hatch lines that talks about the different levels.
I think that's what Tim Linderman was asking.
Yeah,
Is
so
this
that-
right, or has this been?
So that's the question, how much fill is being brought in to get it to that?
So for the whole project itself, we were bringing in, it meets all the criteria as far as the fill, the 1 foot over. Initially, we designed it in kind of the way we were advised and the way we interpreted the code, 1 foot over the site, the whole project area. Well, that was incorrect, and going back to, I don't remember her name, Gina, the company y'all hired that actually did the floodplain stuff. So we went back, we redesigned, and the interpretation there was 1 foot over whatever's in the flood zone area, or something to that nature. And it is going to be approximately 2,000 cubic yards, but then we're also cutting where the pond is, we're cutting dirt, where that's going to be at around elevation 8, we're bringing the water table down to 4.5 to 5. So you're cutting 3 foot of dirt in that location as well. So in the end, when we do our cut and fill analysis, it comes out to meet whatever the city ordinance is. And we're below by like 10%.
If you did that in green, she identifies.
Yeah, our proposed cut was 2,600 cubic yards, and our proposed fill was 2,400 and something cubic yards. So we're actually cutting in certain portions and bringing and using it as fill, and not really necessarily having to bring in fill.
Do we have something that changes what their problem was here? I think that's been a big question.
Well, 531 is what you read on the bottom in green.
Mhm.
He just read that. That was on the final approval day for 531.
I don't have a copy.
You see at the top, it talks about 39, 330, and 531. So when you look in green, on the first page, you can see the cut fill that he's talking about that they've approved it on. And that's AC Disaster, is our consultant for that, Dina and James.
Okay. All right, that answers that one. The other one is back to the 6 dwellings per acre, not 8. I was wrong, I looked it up. It comes to 56.88 on a 9.48 parcel. So it is well below by almost 20 units.
Yeah.
But the problem will come down the road if somebody wishes to split or further add on to it.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah. I think the current design would prevent them from a lot of that, given how large we're making the lots now. There'll be homes on it. We only have services for 38 lots, so they have to go back, and it'd be very expensive to try to do a little 1-bedroom shack somewhere.
That's all my
This was originally 16 acres, was it, something like that?
I think it was 9.5 roughly, the survey says.
It's a little less than 10, yes, sir.
Now, what is the wetland on that?
3 and
We asked this before.
Yeah, the wetlands was around 4.5, 4 3/4, somewhere in there.
4.54.
Right. I know we beat this to death in a couple meetings, and some of the same comments the citizens were making are coming up again. Nobody likes the fact that, you know, you're buying credits and sending them someplace else, but that's reality. They've pretty much met everything that we've asked them to do, and the additional things we've asked them to do, including driveways and things, so.
Yeah, and the credits, I don't have the wetland permit in front of me, but usually the credits are not a one-to-one offset. Usually it's if you're impacting one, you're paying for 10 somewhere else. You're paying for 5 acres or 10 acres somewhere else. And that's what the state, who has jurisdiction over all the wetlands, they determine that. And they review that very, very meticulously. We've got several jobs where they will give them the site plan and they pull back and they say, no, you can't impact this area. And so we have to pull back on several jobs.
Can I ask one more?
Yeah, go ahead.
One more question is that I want to hear this road again, because I think we kind of touched on it, but didn't really. It's been moved further up, not by the bridge, and it's going to be an entrance only.
So the previous entrance that's nearest the bridge is the entrance only.
It's going to be entrance only?
Yeah, so we've got signage in the neighborhood for do not enter, or do not exit, however you want to say. But we did leave it the size. I know one of Bo's concerns and his staff's concerns was emergency vehicles. So we left it at the adequate size for a fire truck to be able to exit, or police to be able to exit, or ambulance to be able to exit without, you know, driving off the road or whatever it may be. But yeah, we did add the other entrance on the north side of the road, that is your entrance exit location. And I mean, I think the sidewalks have been added in the neighborhood for further pedestrian safety to get to the bridge that takes them, I think it's what 12th Street is, as Doug said.
Okay. Appreciate you answering those questions.
Yes, ma'am.
for us. We're still at the table. Anybody else have
One
any
more
comments?
comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Since Adrian is a real estate agent, and this will be 38 homes that are for sale, is that okay for you to be voting?
I have no conflict at this time.
But you possibly will,
You could
right?
possibly buy one. Same thing. Ethics training says you do not have a conflict until you are actively involved. The next discussion, I will have to abstain in our next topic on this agenda, but I do not have an active conflict.
Do you agree with that, Clint?
I do.
Yeah, very good. Okay.
All right, do I have a motion on the development order for Hawkins Hills, Marilda?
I'll make a motion that we approve the application for a site work development order, 15th Street, 38 single-family homes. I'll go as Morella.
Second.
Okay, Pam?
Okay. Mr. Welly?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
No.
Mayor Miller?
Thank you. Okay, as we move on, we have a variance request. I'm sorry, excuse me? Louder? Louder, is that what you asked?
No, back.
Oh. Point of order. Okay, I'm gonna try to talk louder too. Okay, so we have item 2 on the agenda regarding a variance request for 138 Canal Parkway. We will actually have to do this by quasi judicial hearing, which we'll enter into that now regarding this application for variance. If you are an affected party, the applicant or anyone in the public that's going to give any kind of facts or substantial evidence, as well as the staff, will need to be sworn in. So if you meet this criteria, I need you to stand, and Ms. Even if you're potentially going to say something about this project, you need to be sworn in. Right. I'm sorry, Mr.
You need to swear in affected parties. And affected parties are people that have more of an interest in it than just
being part of the general public. It's you live on that street, you're right there. It's not just anybody. Now, there will be a time for a public comment, and anybody in this room can get up and talk, but they don't have to be put under oath.
Is that gonna be, well, what I was reading, is that gonna be, if it's fact or substantial evidence for this, do they need to be sworn in?
The comments from the general public is going to be comments. The
Okay.
affected people are the ones that get to put evidence in, to talk about it,
Okay.
and testify.
So, everybody clear, if you're affected by this, you live on Canal Parkway, basically, or you're the applicant, we need to have you sworn in, and staff as well, so, Ms. Brunson.
Okay, if you will raise your right hand and repeat after me. I swear to tell the truth,
I swear to tell the truth,
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth,
the whole truth, and nothing but the truth,
so help me God.
so help me God.
All right. Excuse me.
Before we get started, I will be abstaining from this decision as my office is actively representing a client with interest in the property that would potentially cause financial gain to myself personally.
Thank you. Okay, has any other member of this council had any communication with any of the affected parties outside of this hearing or the applicant?
Me.
Okay, would you please tell us the nature of your
He
conversation?
just called me and asked me, trying to familiarize me with what was going on.
He
And I
who,
already
I'm
knew about
sorry?
Mr. Smith. I
Okay.
wouldn't know if he walked up right here.
Okay.
That is right there, hat and blue. That's Mr.
Okay.
Good to talk to you, Mr.
Thank you,
Smith.
Mr. Smith. Okay, thank you, Mr. Okay. Mr.
Both of us,
Smith?
Mr. Smith.
All right, thank you. So as we move forward, I do want to say that on June 5th, I was invited to a luncheon that included Ms. Wolf, who is a affected party. She also contacted me back on the 12th. That was in regards to a public records request where she was asking about the cost, and I referred that to Mr. Baber. And I feel that despite this information, I can see and hear all this evidence today and not be impacted by my ability to be impartial here tonight. Anybody else?
I spoke with Bonnie, who lives on Canal Street. She was denied a variance, and she wanted to let me know that about a deck or something she wanted to build, and she just talked to me about it. That was it. Obviously talked to Doug about it, and Julie gave me her opinion on it. That's about it.
And I'd like to also say Miss Bonnie is a friend, and she was at that luncheon as well. She didn't voice anything other than for this particular property. Okay. Okay, as we move on, let's see, I believe that Mr. Manning is going to be the first to present.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. The item before you is an application for a front setback variance at 138 Canal Parkway. This request is for a 4.2 variance, 4.2 foot variance into the 20-foot required front setback, resulting in a 15.8 foot setback. The structure is currently constructed at this location. The Planning Collaborative has received the variance application documents and reviewed them against the city's comprehensive plan and land development code. Both documents are silent on the process and review criteria for issuing a variance. The process for a variance is considered quasi-judicial, and therefore the city must include findings of fact in the approval or denial of the request. The council should be aware that there are standards of review listed in the application, section E. Although these are listed within the application, they are not listed in the current version of the Land Development Code as stated in the application. As a result, these criteria cannot be used to evaluate the request. This item was recommended for denial by the Planning and Zoning Board 3-2, with the recommendation that the standards of review listed in application section E be added back into the Land Development Code.
All right. right, so, each affected party will be allowed to call expert witnesses. Witnesses can be also cross-examined by the applicant as well as the, excuse me, I'm sorry.
They have the ability to cross-examine Mr. Manning if they would like.
Yes.
Either the applicant's representative or the applicant or an affected party
Yes,
can ask Mr. Manning questions.
right. I was getting there. Okay.
Now would be the time to do that.
Anybody have anything for Mr. Manning?
Sure, I have a few questions, actually. I'm Daniel Rosenheim. I'm here, I'm an attorney on behalf of Brook Blue, representing the applicant, VW Investments. Well, since I'm here to question you, I know we're kind of a little off kilter here. Planning to give a little bit of background of it, but based on your, I'm sorry?
You will have a chance to present whatever you'd like. Right. This is just simply
Absolutely.
questioning him.
Absolutely. So, based on your understanding of the property, would it be incompatible, would the use be incompatible with the surrounding neighborhood?
The use as a single-family residence is not incompatible. No.
Would the variance affect the character of the neighborhood if approved?
I think it has the potential to.
Okay. Would it alter the residential character of the neighborhood?
I don't believe so personally.
Okay. If this 4.2 foot variance were approved, would it impose any health safety hazards to the community?
Not that I'm aware of.
To your knowledge of the comprehensive plan, would this variance disturb any policies contained therein, if approved?
Would it disturb policies within the code?
Within the comprehensive plan code?
The land development code offers a 20-foot setback.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. But if it were approved, would it?
It would be in violation of the 20-foot setback.
So it would be so you would say it would be non-compatible?
Non-conforming.
Yes. Okay. Would the increased variance increase traffic or congestion?
Well, it would likely not damage traffic. However, if the property was built 4.2 feet further back, it would hypothetically extend the driveway, which could pick up additional parking.
And would it, you already answered that question, but would it have a detriment to public health and safety? No. Thank you.
Anyone else have any cross-examination for Mr. Manning? Okay. The applicant can come forward and present witnesses and or cross-examine as to move forward. Okay.
She's a stenographer.
I didn't hear.
She's taking minutes. Of course.
Right. Does she need?
She just wanted to
Oh,
be
you
a
need
little
to go
closer.
here. Okay. Absolutely.
She's a court
For the courts.
You got to speak Dover language.
That's okay. Yeah, we're good.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sandy? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Take one. Yes, sir.
That's basically the letter.
Good evening, council. Again, my name is Daniel Rosenheim. I'm an attorney with Burke Blue. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, VW Investments.
Point of order, please. Can we, excuse me, sir. Let me just get it quiet for you, because I know your person needs to be here.
So
All right, thank you.
we're here under very unique and unfortunate circumstances. for which we're respectfully seeking a resolution. As I've discussed in length in the letter and the exhibits I've provided you today, we're seeking a variance of 4.2 feet of a front setback of 20 feet, so a total setback of 15.8 feet. So in attempt at brevity, I would like to highlight some key points in this letter, which will be supported by the testimony of Mike Smith, the general contractor of record for the property, as well as Lance Watson, the engineer for the property and the project, as well as others here today in support. So first and foremost, like I said, we're seeking a variance today based on a simple and honest mistake. The plat here of Mexico Beach Unit 7, my client BW Investments owns Lot 8, and on these lots that run along 12th Avenue, labeled 12th Avenue, which is now Canal, it contains a 15-foot setback along the front property lines, and that's only an important distinction to kind of explain, because it has kind of a theme throughout the project. So when we first, when Mike first started this project, the site plan, the original site plan that was developed, contained a 15-foot front setback. This site plan was submitted with the original development order application. That development order application also stated that it had a 15-foot setback. That was quickly addressed by ECPI, that this site plan needed to be adjusted to show a 20-foot setback. Okay, so acting quickly, Mike Smith worked with Lance to adjust this setback, which reflected the correct 20-foot setback. But prior to submitting the first development order application, the contractor had a surveyor come out and stake the setbacks. Unfortunately, those staked setbacks were not moved to the 20 feet. Therefore, when developing and going vertical with the project and putting the pilings in, they were set at the 15-foot setback as opposed to the 20-foot. Which unfortunately led us to all the way to where we are today, where we have built a $4 million structure at 15.8 feet from the front property line. We went through every inspection. We went through the mechanical, electrical, plumbing inspection, the foundation survey wasn't raised, went through roofing, went through all the inspections. It wasn't until the final CO where it was addressed that we needed a foundation survey, and it showed that we were actually 4.2 feet inside the setback. And this is where we are today. The house is fully developed. This is it from the east facing west. You have to the south, here you have St. Joe, and to the west here you have St. Joe property that runs along. My client BW Investments owns the property immediately contiguous to the north. And then you have 50-foot right-of-way running northerly and southerly along Canal, as well as the parking here. And you can see the homes are generally harmonious with the current developed house. We just showed you different angles so you could see the variation in the setbacks. So I thought it was important to add context here. So while this mistake led us here today, denial of the variance will lead us to an inequitable and unjust result. That is tearing down a $4 million home for a 4.2 foot mistake. The 4.2 foot variance being requested is harmonious and non-injurious to the surrounding neighborhood, does not impact the character of the neighborhood, and does not pose or impact health, safety, and welfare to the citizens. So approval of this variance, as we'll show, is simply not contrary to the public's interests. Third, while Mike Smith certainly bears the ultimate responsibility for building within the setbacks, like I mentioned earlier, this could have been caught. We had multiple inspections on the property, and the issue is the foundation survey was never raised. If we had sticks similar to this property built, it would have been a much easier pill to swallow to tear it down and move it over. But here today, we've got a $4 million completed structure. So that's why we're here today, seeking your approval of a 4.2 foot variance. Mexico Beach Land Development Code, while it does not contain any procedure or process, as Michael mentioned, it does, however, express an intent to adopt a development review process that is equitable for in respect to the property rights of Mexico Beach, and in consideration of the interests of the citizens of Mexico Beach. Again, it's signaling that equity, the balancing of the equities here. So we have received personally 3 letters in support of the variance. If you haven't received those, I did submit them to the city, but if you haven't received them, I'm happy to provide them to you today. And with that,
We have
okay.
Yeah.
So with that, I would like to bring up Mike Smith, the contractor of record for the property, to explain a little bit more of the background behind the mistake. Mike?
I'm Mike Smith, I'm the contractor that put the pilings in the mats. So, like Daniel said, once I got the site plan, I sent it to the surveyors. They surveyed the house corners. And once we realized that it was the wrong one, Lance corrected it to the 20 foot. And then I failed, totally forgot to send it to the surveyors. My fault. We were extremely busy, and it probably took a month or more to get the survey once we sent it to them. And we didn't catch it to the very end when Greg, I called for the CO for the final, and he brought it to my attention that we was at 15.8 instead of 20 foot. So that's where all this come about.
So Mike, how long have you been constructing homes in Mexico Beach?
Mexico Beach since 17, but 38 years overall.
Roughly how many piling constructed homes?
We've probably done maybe 15 or 20 piling jobs and 3 or 4 homes.
Okay. And you set pilings for other contractors too,
Yes,
is that right?
more in Gulf County.
Okay. Have you ever set, piling, or have you ever been required to provide a foundation or piling survey in Mexico Beach prior to going vertical?
Not that I remember.
Maybe in a coastal construction control line or something like that?
Under a DEP permit.
Under a DEP
Yes.
permit. Okay. Would there be any benefit? Would BW Investments, would they have preferred for that setback to be at 20 feet
Yes.
as opposed to 13.2?
It serves no purpose being it setback and set now.
Right. And
Nobody gained from it.
Sure. So by saying you didn't knowingly set the pilings at 15.2 or inside that 20-foot
No.
setback. So they weren't set there in bad faith or maliciously.
No.
And my client didn't ask you to set it at 15 feet, is that right?
No.
Okay. And
I continue to call the inspection department about that questions. I never do anything. Never do outside the
So would it have been more beneficial, you actually have to answer that question, but is it possible to remove the 4.2 feet of the offensive building on the front of the property?
No.
No further questions? So if anyone has any questions for Mike,
Okay. Any cross-exam? Come forward, state your name. Forward. Thank you.
Luke Cheney with Dunlap and Shipman. I'm here on behalf of Chuck and Karen Wolf, owners of 130 Canal Parkway. I just got one question. Would the house have fit within the allowable setbacks if it was not pushed out 5 feet?
Would it have fit?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Smith. I'm Bo Creel with EPCI.
Hey, Mr. Miller.
Oh, you know Greg, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
I think I've heard him speak of him. Did you ever call for a foundation inspection?
I never called for a foundation inspection. No, sir.
Then we would have had no way of knowing until the building was sitting on the foundation, because I believe the first inspection you called for, the building was already there.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So,
Yeah.
we never saw the lot prior to you installing the power.
That's,
And we never saw
and
the
you never
lot
will. Yes, sir.
until the building was in place.
That's correct.
So your attorney stated that, that you had done a foundation inspection, that you'd called for a foundation inspection, one had been completed and that we had not. Traditionally, we would require that, we get an engineer's report from the pilings. I'm sure you're familiar with those.
Yes, sir.
I believe your drawings, your engineer drawings call for an engineer to observe the pilings, make sure that they've been installed properly.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So, okay, that's all I need. Thank you.
Thank you.
sorry if I misstated there, but just to clarify, you called, Mike, you called for when you called for the final inspections when it was understood that the foundation survey
That's
was
right.
required. Okay, and that's when it was obtained. Okay. Yes.
I'm Greg Battaloso with EPCI. So here's a copy, it's in your packet, I noticed, of the original development order dated 3/11/2022. I've highlighted the sentence for you to review where it does clearly state that we require an elevation certificate and a setback inspection prior to going vertical to ensure that we meet not only the elevation for floodplain, but also the setback. And as we agree that inspection was never done. As far as the notification that we do require that here in Mexico Beach, I mean, it is there.
And
Any further questions for Mike? Mr. Smith? Any questions that, okay, Mr. Smith?
Maybe you can explain to me, I'm not a builder, okay?
Yes, sir.
Admit that first. So I just ran down there and I put a tape from the street to the first pylon.
Yes, sir.
I didn't get 15 feet, I got like 20 something.
Yes, sir.
Is there a different way to measure that, or what? Because, I mean, if you're talking obstructing views and stuff like that, how does it do that? I mean, if you're at 20 feet right now from the street,
Yes,
the
sir.
first pylon,
Well, the property line doesn't start till, maybe 15 foot off the street, the property line. And then from there to the
measure
first
from the
pylon.
property
The city has a setback for utilities.
You got your right of way. Now, here's the property line, and then that would be the road.
I saw the stake there, right?
Yes, sir. That's it.
I have a question, Mr. Smith.
Okay.
How many properties have you built here in Mexico Beach?
I think it's 3.
Three.
Yes, sir.
And have you ever gotten a foundation inspection before going vertical?
I believe we did on that too, yes, ma'am. I'd have to look at it. Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a list that you needed that particular inspection?
Ma'am?
Did you have a list or
I
something
had
that
a
told you?
check-off list that come with the
Yeah.
building permit, and when I seen it said setbacks, I don't know what I was thinking, but I was thinking since we had it surveyed, that we was within the setbacks.
Okay, but what about the foundation inspection? Was there
Well,
a
it was on
reason?
pilings, but we didn't have a foundation inspection. We may think we had a slab inspection.
Okay, so your pilings are part of your, the pilings, from my understanding, are they're your foundation for the house going vertical, that those should have been inspected to make sure they were in the right place,
That's correct. And
just
I
like a
did-
slab would have been.
Yeah, we called the slab inspection after we started the framing.
In the slab
It's a
inspection.
slab
Can you tell me what
footing.
date that might have been for the slab inspection?
I would say it was probably maybe May.
And have you started
We
going
started the
vertical?
pilings in March.
2022,
Okay.
2022.
And you'd already started going vertical?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and somebody did inspect that, not say anything about the setback?
No, I did not call in, I did not have a survey once we did the pilings to catch the setback problem,
Okay.
but we did have a slab and footing inspection after that.
Okay. Thank you.
That would be two different inspections.
Okay. So can I ask Bo, or you want to do something?
Sure.
Okay. Greg, Bo, explain to me what the difference is. He's saying he had a slab inspection.
Okay, the slab is a non-structural item, it's
Okay.
ground level, usually under homes with pilings for
Uh-huh.
various purposes, sometimes parking, sometimes for storage or whatever.
Okay.
The inspection process, normally we would do a foundation inspection. And of course, the pilings are the foundation for a home, that's built such as that. When was presented to EPCI, we reviewed the plans and it showed a 15-foot setback. We rejected the plans, we sent them back to the contractor or developer, whoever. And they made the corrections. Those plans, a copy of those plans that had the correction supposedly would have been on the job site for a foundation inspection. Our inspector is not necessarily the person that does the plan review. That's usually done in back office by plans examiner. And so if he didn't have the correct plans on the job, then he wouldn't know that those plans hadn't been approved. You know, I mean, he'd be seeing a 15-foot setback, and that's what he'd have, and he would think he was right on that. Now, whether he looked at that or not, I can't tell you, but yeah, I'm just saying the process. And from what I understand, Mr. Smith is a good builder. He's not trying to shortchange anybody, but, you know, it's where we are.
Okay. I just want to understand the difference in the inspection for the slab versus calling for inspection for the pilings. Okay.
So not only did Mr. Smith give him the wrong paper, he also didn't call for an inspection. That's what we're saying.
Yes, sir. And of course, I've listened to what he said, you know, concerning the piling inspection. Piling of the foundation is just like a stem wall foundation or just like a monolithic slab. You've got a point. That's where your building goes. Question for you, if I might. Was the house in place at the time the floor was poured underneath? Was the house on the pilings?
Was it started on the framing?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
I always start my framing before we pour a slab underneath.
I got
For
you.
this reason.
I can
From
understand.
time to time, we've got to move the pilings to fit the framing. So we
Understand.
never pour a slab before we do that.
Good job.
Now, you're not gonna move me.
I got a question for both.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh. This is, I can see your point, Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir.
Bo, I can see your point. I don't want to sit here and that's your fault or his fault. That's what it's fitting to be. What I want to know from you, Mr. Creel, and your friends, how can we not let this happen again?
I think the only way that you can possibly do that is not allow construction to continue until you've got a survey showing your setbacks.
That's good enough.
Now, Having said that,
Now,
having said that, if you have a boundary survey and the strings are pulled at the time they call for a foundation inspection, then it's not a big problem to pull a tape. That can be done by us, which we don't normally do that, or that can be done by your code enforcement people. But if that's the desire of the city, we make it happen.
that, for me, that, I know we're gonna discuss it, but that'd be for me. I mean, I come
Understand.
from Cal Board. Probably she's a good lady, but she
I understand, yes.
pulling the string and pulling the tape measure, I think.
I got you.
Catching flower. I would say
Okay.
to let, that's what I would do, but for both of us. Meaning that you and him and the city.
Sure. Of course, if that was the first mistake that ever happened since I've been in Mexico Beach since 2004, then I'd be really concerned.
Do y'all
And I
want
just-
to ask questions to Mr.
And I
Creel?
know Melissa wants to, she looks like she's eager to come up, but I just want to, I just want to clarify a couple things on we've submitted 2 separate DO applications. The first one showed 15 feet, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And it wasn't approved.
It wasn't
The
approved.
second DO had 20-foot setbacks, and that was the approved,
That's
right?
correct.
Was the DO or the permit in the permit box up front? Was
It was.
Or do both of them go in?
It was just a permit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on the copy of the permit doesn't show setbacks on it, does it?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
The code does require that a copy of the plans be on the document.
Okay, did you have a copy of the updated site plan showing the 20-foot setbacks inside the dock box?
I did, yes.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that is what we had, not the 15 foot. I have no questions. No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir, thank you.
Mr. Creel, some questions? Would you like to ask Mr. Creel some questions?
Not right now.
Okay.
So, are y'all ready to go?
I'm done with my Smith, yes, ma'am.
Do you have anyone else you want to call?
Lance Watson with SCE, please.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Yes, ma'am. What's that?
We better do
Yeah,
something with that.
yeah. It's a little raky.
Oh, there we go.
It's seen better days.
Please,
It's older than Markwood. Lance, I just want to ask you a few questions. Based on the current site plan showing the 20-foot setbacks, would the home fit within that 20-foot setback?
Yes.
And would the ISR be the same, the impervious surface ratio be the same?
Yes.
Okay, so it wouldn't have any impact, we don't have any impact from a land development code, aside from the setbacks, as far as non-compliance.
Right, yeah, just a second.
Okay, so as it currently sits here, there is no, as it currently sits today, there's no difference in the ISR.
Yep. No, the only way it would be reduced is if the driveway was not permeable, but those are pervious pavers and that, so the reduction in driveway did not decrease the impervious surface.
And based on your understanding with the civil engineering side with this building, could the front 4.2 feet be cut off the front of the house?
No, because of the way the porch is, this is all hidden space in front.
Okay. Have you worked with other projects with Mike Smith?
Oh, yeah.
I
think all of those projects, probably since 2017.
Do you find him to be an honest and trustworthy man?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And would Mike do anything intentionally or maliciously based on your knowledge of Mike to violate a setback? Okay. That's all the questions I have for him.
Okay. Any cross? For Lance?
I got a quick question.
Okay.
I didn't raise my hand or stand up.
City engineer.
You may want to sort of.
Yes, sir.
Oh.
Yes, sir, you may.
Based on the house constructed, can it be moved? I mean, looking at the
Anything
house,
can
it
be
looks like,
moved.
it looks like there's a horizontal grade being just elevated. Under the structure, can the house be pushed back if you said?
You would have to lift the house, move it out of
the footprint, pull the columns, reset the columns, go back, and refinish the house.
At a cost of what?
Huh?
At a cost.
A lot, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Hundreds?
Yes, sir.
Meaning more than one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anything else? Cross-examine, Lance? Okay. Any other
Thank you.
witnesses? Dan, any other?
Yeah, I just want to wrap up.
Well, you
And
get
close.
you get a chance for closing.
We're gonna do a
Yeah,
closing in
okay,
just a minute.
absolutely.
Okay, so I need next the affected parties. The affected parties.
Good evening, Luke Cheney with Dunlap and Shipman. Also here with me is our planning director, Melissa Ward. We represent Chuck and Karen Wolf, the owners of 130 Canal Parkway, which is 4 lots down from the applicant, right over here. The Wolves would be adversely impacted if this variance is granted and therefore oppose this variance. However, as we're going to demonstrate tonight, we don't think there's actually a need for a variance. So in 1956, this subdivision plat was recorded for the subdivision, and that plat specifically allows for a 15-foot front setback. And since this plat was approved by the county prior to the city's incorporation and contains its own setback requirements on the face of the plat, it constitutes the controlling setbacks for the entire subdivision, not the setbacks contained in the land development code for high-density residential. So to the extent that there is a plat of record that was approved in 1956, which allows for this 15-foot front setback, that overrides the 20-foot front setback in the LDC, and no variance should be required to allow property owners in this subdivision to build to that platted 15-foot front setback. And there's also Florida case law that has recognized that an approved plat like this one constitutes a development order, and that the restrictions contained in an approved plat control over conflicting provisions in the land development code. So if you don't recognize this plat as the controlling setbacks for the subdivision, you would be denying the right to build according to an approved development order's terms, since the entire platted subdivision has already been given approval to build to that 15-foot front setback. And I'll ask Melissa to come and explain more on that.
Good evening, Melissa Ward, Dunlap and Shipman. I'm a certified planner, certified under the American Planning Institute, and I've been doing planning for 20 years. And 11 of which was at Walton County, so sorry about that. But the plat is, I'm gonna let you hold this.
You want to set this in the
Well, actually, I'm gonna use your big old map if you can put that one back up
Yeah,
there. It's so much easier to see.
I'm like a balloon and trying to show.
Yeah, well, you know,
I'm big enough for it.
it's all good.
You get-
So,
Yeah, thank you.
with regard to the plat, this plat was recorded, I'm sure you guys all know this, this is a platted subdivision recorded in 1956. It was adopted and signed by the Bay County Commissioners in 1956. They accepted all of it on the face of it, which included not just a linear line that shows where the setbacks are, but also these restrictions on the face of it in verbiage, that this setback is based on where your building footprint is based on where that line is. Now that line doesn't extend down the sides of it or to the rear, therefore your land development code setbacks would apply, but this is treated effectively much like a planned development because it has design controls specific to how you can place your house on the property. And for that reason, we feel like it's not necessary to have a variance for any of the lots on Canal Parkway. So that's in response to his question. Did you want me to hand those out?
Yeah.
Okay. In this, I think I'll come over here. I apologize. I'm sure I speak loud enough so everybody can hear me. That's what I hear all the time anyway. In particular, we have the restrictions somewhere. I'm sorry. There's the plat and there's the restrictions, and there's 10 of each in there.
That's to enter into the evidence so that we put it on the record. The restriction is, as I said, we just highlighted that it is specific on the face of the plat and delineated linearly on this street exactly where that setback is. Did you want to go to the next step? Pardon. Scoot behind you.
So if this plat is recognized as the controlling setback for the subdivision, then there's no need for a variance tonight. And everyone in this subdivision is entitled to build to that 15-foot front setback without a variance. But if you don't honor this platted setback, which we think would be improper, then the only way the applicant would be able to keep his house where it currently stands is if he can demonstrate entitlement to a variance. And I understand that your land development code doesn't contain a standard for granting a variance. However, that application packet that's included with every variance application that you're required to submit when you apply for a variance lays out 6 standards of review for determining whether that variance can be granted. And that's the same exact standards that the county uses for its variances, and it's also substantially the same as the standards that are recognized under Florida law. And these standards have also been consistently applied by the city despite not being in your code. On 118 Canal Parkway, for example, the owner applied for a variance in January of 2021, and the then acting city attorney, Nick Beninate, specifically told the council that if it wanted to grant that variance, it would need to use the standards of review contained in the application packet. And the city attorney noted that at that time, those standards of review were not contained in the code, but that the city was working on getting them incorporated into the code. And he said that since they had not been incorporated yet, the applicable standards of review were what were contained in that variance application packet. So you should have a copy of the application. And you'll see the factors labeled 1 through 6, and I'll have Melissa come up and speak to those factors.
So the standards that were in the application, especially the one that we noticed from the applicant that is presenting for a variance today, as well as the one that was denied not too long ago on 118 Canal Parkway. The variance shall not authorize changes to the comp plan, the land use map, the zoning map, so forth. We know that doesn't apply here because they're not putting in a new use that's not allowed. So that's not applicable. The applicant clearly must demonstrate and show that the hardship is unique to the applicant and the applicant's property. The key factor here is when looking at a hardship is that the property is exactly the same, if not similarly so, to the rest of the lots on the subdivision. It doesn't have any necessary slopes, wetlands, floodplains, special to that property, different from the other that are north of him, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So they're all exactly the same with the exception of maybe one that has 2 setback lines on it, corner lot lines. The property itself does not present any reason for variance. So you cannot find in the findings of fact that they have a hardship based on the land. The hardship that, standard number 3 is that the hardship relates to the land involved rather than the applicant's personal circumstances. In this case, what that means under planning principles is that the land itself created the issue because it's either too small or because it is sloped too deeply that you can't build on the rear of the property or the front, or that it has wetlands. But in this case, the circumstances in which a mishap occurred during the permitting process, or after the permitting but during the building process, is the actual reason that he's here. Which he admitted to in his application. He specifically stated that the original survey showed a 15-foot setback. It was approved at a 20-foot setback. The house was mistakenly staked out at 15 feet. So that shows that it was a self-created incident. So for that reason, you could not find for a variance on substandard 3. Standard 4, the hardship is not the result of the applicant's own actions. I think we spoke to that already, and he said so in his application that it's based on an accident, made in error judgment. And then standard 5, the variance if approved is the minimum necessary to provide reasonable beneficial use of the property involved. The property itself is beneficial regardless of where he puts the house on it. His house would have fit perfectly within the footprint allowed under the code. And if you're not going to apply this plat and the platted setbacks, then it doesn't require a variance in order for it to be applicable and to be able to utilize the land. Item substandard number 6 is a variance is specifically intended and necessary to promote city objectives or policies. And in that regard, that's a little bit more nebulous because, well, for me anyway, because looking at your policies, I didn't find anything that specifically said this house is so necessary, so we're going to grant the variance. Typically what that variance is for planned unit developments where you allow a deviation to setbacks in order to cluster density out of a wetland, and that's a public policy that you're supporting, or to allow them not to put in sidewalks on one street because they're going to be over here next to the park where they're necessary public policy. In this case, this doesn't promote or further any future policies that you guys have in your comp plan that I'm aware of. And I did read through it, but I may have missed something. So for that reason, under the standards of review, you don't have anything that you can stand on to grant a variance for that particular piece of property for this house.
I'd like to ask a question. So we're starting off here, you're saying that they don't need a variance. That the setback is 15 feet based on the plat.
The platted restrictions that are on it,
Now,
that predate your code.
I would need some time to look into that to give, I would need
Understood.
some time to see if you're correct. Would you, and the reason why you don't want a variance is because you don't want anybody else that lives on the block, or particularly your client, the Wolves, to have to get a variance if they want to have a 15. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would actually, the way I would word it, if you don't mind, is if, for it to be, because the attorney for the applicant said what's equitable. And he's talking about the equitable and the fact that he doesn't want to spend a lot of money to have to tear down a house or cut up a house or lift a house or whatever the house that he built. But what's equitable is for the community. It's not what's equitable for the owner. So I would agree that if you grant a variance, maybe grant a community variance.
Or if, let me just say this, so you're saying he doesn't need the variance to begin with? He's just fine the way that he is? Okay, so what if, since, really don't have the time to get in and go through everything that you presented here today, if we granted him the variance, and let him go ahead and move on with his place, and then you turned out to be true, then none of the other people would need a variance going forward?
That would be accurate, in my opinion. Yeah.
So would that be, would your clients be upset with that?
I'll let the attorney speak to that.
Okay.
I guess what I would wonder is, why is this applicant entitled to a variance when he clearly doesn't satisfy the standards of review?
Well, I would need to look into certain things.
Well, typically what the question is would the rest of the street want the same setback? Is I think what you're getting at.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is if they don't need the variance to begin with, if we just granted it tonight so he can move forward, we could look into this, and with what you say is true, then they don't need a variance in the future if they want to have a 15-foot setback. Is that correct?
Well,
according to what you said?
Well, I think it would be, to be honest, and I'm not an attorney, so beg my pardon, but the question would be, how would they be able to grant a variance if they don't meet a hardship? A variance is specific to a hardship.
This particular situation
You're looking for grace.
is a bad situation.
You're looking for grace, and I get that.
And I'm looking to get through it and
sure.
with everybody being okay. And if I'm just asking you the question, because according to what your legal argument is they don't need a variance anyway. Mr. Smith doesn't need a variance. That if we, then neither would your client or anybody else if they wanted to have a 15-foot setback. Is that what you're saying?
Can I ask something?
Sure.
I remember something coming to us one time when I was on planning and zoning, having to do with a subdivision that's on the east side, back corner, somewhere now around Maryland, and there was a difference in something there that we denied because their subdivision had it in their bylaws, or in their, so was this similar? That's what I'm asking.
I don't remember that specifically. I can't imagine the city making a determination based on the bylaws of a homeowners association.
Right, I make no assertion that you're responsible for other communities' reservations or restrictions or covenants. The difference is, so you have an abrogation clause in your land development code that says you're not going to interfere with covenants and easements and all that kind of stuff. But it's at the time of adoption of that code. In this instance, the interference is stopping someone to utilize a design criteria on a plat that predates your code. And that is my position, that it has standing in advance of that. But now, you know, that's a question your attorney may want to respond to.
Yeah, and I don't know the answer. Like, I just got all this stuff right here at this moment. So.
Under normal circumstance, I'll be honest with you, we're over in Walton County, and Daniel could attest to this. I show up all the time at the Zoning Board of Adjustment to argue for communities to get community variances, so they don't have to argue this in front of anybody anymore, because the plat is what they want to build to. And when I do that, I use all the history to explain it. Like, I believe that your historical documents that predate your code, they are grandfathered for that use. Now, I do look through there's other things that don't obviously apply, but when I did some research on the rest of these plats for Mexico Beach, they all have covenants and they all have these, it's a design criteria. So it's like well, to be frank, it's like a St. Joe PUD or DRI. It's in its place and it's used as a design criteria. The rest of your code applies. All of your code enforcement policies, all of the setbacks, in the impervious surface, because that's not addressed here. But this is a one-line setback here, and that prevails. It's a criteria for design.
It's just on the one.
Well,
Can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Certainly.
Can you just, for my clarification, how many lots are you saying would not be avoiding the entire plat or just the Canal Parkway?
So we are here for Canal Parkway, okay? This plat clearly, wherever it shows here, a 15-foot setback along Gulf Street, which is platted as Gulf Street, platted along 12th, and the other lots in here. But mind you, there are none in the rear or side, just around the fronts. These are all front setbacks, and that's the definition here is the building shall be placed no nearer the street property line other than what's shown on the plat. So it's very clear on that.
It's a lot of lots.
It is a lot of lots, yes. Yeah.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
And I understand what you're saying, and I can't say that I disagree with that at all. But what does that do to the non-conforming statement in the LDR?
So a non-conforming lot is one that's a lot of record that doesn't conform to your current code, all right? But typically that means in the lot sizes or the density the size structure. If this setback is on here is found by your board to be to be the PUD that our development order that we look at, then this becomes conforming by the nature of it being pre-approved. It's a conforming lot based on the code that the adoption of that recorded.
But that, what I'm saying is when the LDR was written somewhere in the 90s, I think, there was a statement in there, because we used to do this part.
Sure.
And there was a statement in there that any property that didn't meet the requirements of the LDR became a non-conforming property, and you had limitations as to what you could do with that property beyond that point. Does that not affect this?
I'll defer to the abrogation clause.
Yeah. I think that typically when they talk about non-conforming lots, they are not talking about, they're talking about a lot that was created by usually a deed or something that predates code.
It doesn't mention anything.
Well,
He's talking about the percentage of the lot be reduced by a figure that would make it non-conforming with the rest of the lots on the plat. So if we did some kind of adjustment to the size of the lot, it wouldn't fit with the rest of them?
Well,
lot?
no, it states that any property that was approved prior to, that was a platted lot or a legitimate property prior to the code, then it became a non-conforming property. And then, of course, you got limitations as to what you can do on that property beyond that point, and that you can't further a non-conforming use. Now, I'm not sure that particular statement's in Mexico Beach's code, I know it's in Port St. Joe's code.
Well, that's different, and so a nonconformity, for instance, if this house that's down the street here is built was built to the 15-foot setback line, and they decide, and you considered it a nonconformity, and they sold it, and the new buyer wanted to add square footage to that property, if it's nonconforming, they can't do that without getting a variance from your code, or bringing it into conformity. So they either have to tear it down and rebuild it to conform with the code, or they have to.
So then the nonconformity only applies to buildings, is that what I'm hearing?
No, it can apply to structures, it can apply to uses and so forth, but the lot itself, if the plat shows that the 15 feet is there, and they build to that 15 feet, it's assumed to be conforming because it is a design code based on the plat.
And I'm good with that, Clint, if you had verified that for me. I just, from all the information I wanted to know. Thank
And
you.
this is a decision that the council makes.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay.
So with regard to the variance, your role here tonight as the city council, sitting in a quasi-judicial capacity, is to apply your standards of review to the findings of fact that are presented to you. And if you're saying that there's no standards of review, then you really have no basis to grant a variance. And because this application specifically fails on at least 5 out of the 6 required standards of review, it can't justifiably be granted. The fact that the house was already built in violation of the setbacks, that's not a standard of review for a variance, not under your standards and not under Florida law, and neither is the practicality of removing the portions of the building that were constructed without approval in violation of the setbacks. And your standards of review specifically state that the hardship can't relate to the applicant's personal circumstances, nor can they be the result of the applicant's own actions. And that's exactly what's happening here. And you already have precedents for denying variances in this neighborhood. We've already talked about 118 Canal Parkway, which is right around here, who applied for a variance in January of 2021 and was denied. The only difference, if this variance were granted, is that the construction on the applicant's lot has already been completed prior to requesting approval. And the fact that construction was done prior to requesting approval, that's not one of your standards of review, and that shouldn't be factored into your decision. The simple fact is that cutting into your profits on your investment property, which is on the market right now for just shy of $4 million, that does not constitute a hardship that warrants a variance. You can't ignore your development order, which on its face specifically approved a 20-foot setback, and also specifically required that there be a foundation survey prior to going vertical. You can't just ignore that and build whatever you want without approval and then seek a variance after the fact in order to maximize your profits. That's not a valid reason for a variance. So the only way the applicant would be entitled to keep the house where it currently stands is if the plat that was adopted by the county in 1956 prior to the city's incorporation, allowing for a 15-foot setback, is recognized as the controlling setback for the subdivision. And again, if that's the case, then everyone in this subdivision is also entitled to build to that 15-foot front setback without the need for a variance. So there would be no need for a variance tonight. And if the plat is not recognized, which we think would be improper, then you have to find that this applicant is entitled to a variance based on your standards of review that have been consistently applied for every other variance request in this city, despite not being in your code. And as has been demonstrated tonight, this lot does not qualify for a variance. So we ask that the council recognize this 1956 plat of record with the 15-foot front setback, which predates your land development code, as the applicable setback for the subdivision, and declaring this variance request as a moot point, since all the lots within that plat are already entitled to build to the 15-foot front setback. Or, in the alternative, if you decide not to honor this platted setbacks, we ask that you deny the variance for failure to satisfy the standards of review in almost every respect. And if you do grant this variance tonight, then at the very least, I would ask that the variance apply to all the other affected property owners along Canal Parkway. There's no reason that these neighboring property owners on Canal Parkway should be denied a variance tonight if this applicant is allowed a variance despite not satisfying these standards of review. They shouldn't have to incur additional time and money and attorney's fees in order to get the same setback as the applicant who violated his development order and didn't get his required second survey prior to going vertical. Thank you for your time.
Any questions? Any advice?
What about the property owners?
Just a minute, okay, just a minute, let's do this. Is there any other, okay.
I'm Chuck Wolf.
Were you
owner of-
supporting it, I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Me and my wife own 130 Canal Parkway. And we talked earlier about not affecting anyone. We bought that house to be our home, not an investment home. Not one to make money, one to live in. And we're gonna lose almost 5 feet of our view of the beach that we pay for. You're in real estate. Everything in real estate is location, location, location. And that's being taken away from us from a house that's gonna block part of the view that we bought the lot for. It's gonna devalue our property, it's gonna devalue our house. And again, there's no reason that a variance is needed, the way we see it tonight. Thank
Any
you.
questions for him?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just gonna say, if, according to your lawyers, if we went with their argument, then all those things are gonna happen because he's gonna leave his house right there because it's the original plan.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Yes, if we're all allowed, but approving a variance tonight that really has it's not validated, it can be approved. It's not a legal variance. It doesn't meet any of the criteria. And to approve it based on, maybe you'll go back and the plat will stand, that won't satisfy me, no.
I don't understand why, because you still
But,
have.
okay, so you approve a variance that really shouldn't be approved based on what you may find or may not find. Now the variance is approved, you go back and you've approved a variance that shouldn't be to start with. So there's really no reason to ever approve a variance tonight, based on future findings of a plat that was done in 1956 that should stand. The plat supersedes the ordinance moved to a 20-foot setback, the way it's written. So, but no, for me, to approve something based on what may come, and I know you made a statement, this house is under contract or close to being under contract, this house will be sold. It will add another layer of complexity to this. I mean, me and my wife already have an attorney and a specialist here that we're out that we shouldn't have to do because the house was built in the wrong place, because a step was missed in an inspection, you know. So, but if it's granted, if you want to grant a variance, you can grant it all the way down the street, even though it's not needed. But it needs to be granted for everyone. I mean, we've already drawn our plans. Now I've got to go see if I draw a plan. If it's done, I got to move my house 5 feet forward. I don't think SEC is going to do that for free. I'm pretty sure they won't. But anyway, that's the problem with granting a variance tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Wolf.
Yes.
Love your name, first of all, but need something lighter. But I have the same question along the same lines. Are we gonna be okay? Do you feel like this is gonna be resolved? It's not gonna change your view if we make a variance 15 feet, because the house is still gonna be there. Is your house built already or not?
No.
It's not?
No.
So you'd be moving yours forward?
Yes. Well, first off, and I say this, and Mike even said it, he didn't do himself any favors having his house at 15 feet.
Right.
He actually reduced his parking. The only thing that's probably gonna do is when you have a house the size that he has and all the people are gonna be there, they're probably gonna use public parking that we all pay for right in front of the house. But we can't do anything about that tonight. But it didn't do him any good. So I know it wasn't done out of malice, but it is where it is. No, I probably wouldn't build my house I'd build my house at 20. But what I would do, I'd put a porch out at 15. So that when I stand on my porch, I have the same view that the people at 138 Canal Parkway have. Just a little further away.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Dan, do you have any questions for Mr. Wolf?
You have a question? Okay. So do we have any Any public fact-finding substantial
Just
information?
anyone.
I think, or anyone?
Just anyone in the public.
Anyone in the public?
Rock Cruz, Colorado Drive, on the P&Z board. I didn't vote on this. I stayed from that because Lance is involved with something I have going on.
Okay.
But I can speak now because I'm not voting on this. So several facts that can come out here. I sat and I listened to everybody that came up here, to people living on that street and back and forth. One gentleman from the inspection department even mentioned the fact that surveyors are now 2 to 3 months behind. And it's pretty common for houses to be going vertical before they get even a survey done. Lisa Logan, who's here, stated all 4 of the times that I sat at this, sitting out here, listening to the council, granting waivers on stuff. I think the last one was Ocean Plantation in 22. A house was actually built backwards. And it was a spec house. It wasn't somebody owned it, it was a guy gonna sell it. And it had a violation in there, it was like 8 feet on one side. And there's been other ones that came back. And the big question was, how are we going to solve this? Well, the city said, we're gonna take care of it. We're gonna have somebody go out there and measure. What happened to that? That went away. And all I kept getting, and back and forth, they kept saying, this is months back. So the builders aren't waiting. They're coming in, they're doing a foundation, they're putting pilings in the ground, whatever, and they ain't waiting for the surveyors to come back. What happened here was like almost a catch-22. That subdivision was plotted back there, and the original plot that he had from the county had a 15-foot setback. And that came in, you guys caught it, it got changed to 20. Well, the surveyor looked at the 15-foot one. So the surveyor came out and hammered the stakes in the ground while the construction was going on. Where that is, where the house is, at the end of the block, is where your new pavilion is down there. That was all under construction. You couldn't even get down Canal Street at the end. All that construction was taking place down there where your new pavilion is. I went down there numerous times, and you stood on that street, you couldn't tell anything where that house was being built because there were trucks everywhere, construction and all that. So that's another thing that happened. So I mean, there's more to this than just that. But I don't understand how, they're saying that, 2, 3 months behind and everybody's going vertical. Why is the city letting that happen? I just don't get that. And I talked to the last code person who was several years ago. He used to go out and measure. I don't see what the big deal is. Right across the street from me, there's a house just got the pilings put in. I can go out there with a tape measure. I know I got a 20-foot setback, there's a 10-foot right of way. Pretty simple to figure that out. I mean, Mexico Beach, you're not building 1,000 houses a week. The biggest construction was your apartments. So I don't understand why somebody isn't going around looking at this construction. I mean, how can that take place for 6, 8 months when somebody doesn't even measure? You need to get that straightened out. So there's a little bit more to this whole thing than just, and I mean, that was a total honest mistake. So I mean, I don't know how it's all platted, but I mean, that's how it came about. And the big thing that came back from other people that aren't here now was the ones, just like he mentioned, this Wolf mentioned, about 15 feet. And that now that you found out that that might be 15 all the way, if I spend $1 million on property there, and I'm like, wait a minute, this guy's got the house up here, I'd like to build mine 15 feet too, so I got the same view. Because that's just the street. Once it gets to the end, it turns. I went out there and looked at all that. So I mean, it's catch-22 for you. There's a lot more to this situation than just, he made a mistake and built $1 million house. There's a lot more you have to think about.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Lisa Logan, 402 Maryland. For me, the bigger issue in all of this is what the heck happened to our standards of review that had been in the LDR all these years? So who removed them? Why were they removed? When were they removed? Because it's never come in front of P&Z or the city council. And when are you going to put them back? Because we have always used those standards of review. So to say that the documents, the comp plan and the LDR were silent on this is incredibly disturbing. So that's the bigger issue. What happened to those standards?
I agree with you.
again, John Alba, 209 Virginia Drive. We got lucky on this one because there's a plat that could help us. I think listening to everybody sounds like everybody is fair, honest, and everyone's trying to do the right thing. I come from the aircraft maintenance world where everybody we hire and everybody listed in the military to be aircraft maintainer, we hope that they're fair, honest, and trying to do the real thing, or the right thing. But mistakes are going to happen. That's why we have a job guide. That's why my job as a maintenance officer back in the day was making sure that my guys were trained, following that job guide. And if we didn't follow the job guide, well, we put an airplane in the ground. Bad. I'm not saying that we're going to do that here. What I'm saying is that job guides, checklists, reviews exist for a reason, to prevent that next thing from happening. So that's why I opened up with, we got lucky on this one. We have something, we have a way out on this one. But what happens to the next time? And we're not lucky, and we don't have something predated. We have nothing to fall back on. And that's why I would say, go with what those attorneys are saying for this pre-platted piece. Don't approve that variance, because if you do that, now you're saying, well, better to ask forgiveness than ask permission. Do we really want to set that precedent? And then let's take a look at our process, get a checklist in there. Everybody was honest in this. No one got hurt, thank God, you know. But let's take a look at that process, because if we don't do that, then we will get to a point where somebody builds something so fast, misses a step, we've got a way out. We don't have a way out. Or if we miss that step, what if it's that key inspection step that time? That's the worry. So let's fix this problem. Don't approve the variance tonight. Take a look at this legal review, but it sounds like this is open and shut for that piece.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so does the applicant have any rebuttals?
Yeah, I just want to address several things.
Okay.
First and foremost, I don't disagree with their analysis on the 15-foot issue as it relates to the plat. But we do need a decision tonight based on the variance. I disagree with their understanding of the standards as it relates to your land development code. The legislature transferred that responsibility to the city to adopt a variance or a hardship ordinance. Under your land development code, you don't have one. That's clear. That delegation of authority hasn't been given to the Planning and Zoning Board to even make a recommendation or denial, but we're operating off of an old application. So while they claim that these are the standards based on a prior variance that was approved, prior variances don't set precedents. They don't set a precedent. It's based on individual circumstances. Just because Lot 1 was approved for a variance doesn't mean Lot 2 or Lot 4 would be approved for a variance. They're based on factual and unique circumstances to each applicant. Okay. As it relates to the hardship, we don't disagree that the hardship was self-imposed. It was a mistake, an honest mistake, as Mike Smith has testified before you today. But looking at the reasonable return of the property, now we're not talking about economics, we're not talking about what we will make or what it's going to go on the market for. When we look at the reasonable return of the property, it's having built a $4 million structure and having to tear down the $4 million structure for a 4.2 foot honest mistake. That return on the investment, or that reasonable return, isn't economics. Like I said, it's based on the reasonable return implies an existence of between the use of the property within the residential zoning district. It doesn't necessarily imply that we're ready to make money. It has to do with balancing the hardships again, tearing down a $4 million structure for a 4.2 foot stake. As it So just in conclusion, we're here today requesting an area variance of 4.2 feet, not a use variance, an area variance for 4.2 feet from a 20-foot setback to reduce the setbacks to 15.8 feet, where the home is currently constructed due to an honest mistake, not out of malice or out of bad faith, or and for which equity truly supports here. It won't afford the applicant with any special privilege. It's non-injurious to the neighboring property owners. It's harmonious with the neighboring property. Again, there were homes built on Canal Street on the 15-foot setback because they have a setback rule that, after Michael, you could rebuild within that 15 foot and be in compliance. So, I mean, we have homes that range along Canal that are 15 feet to 20 feet. And it's not contrary to public interest. We're not building upon wetlands. We're not building inside the coastal construction control line. We're not disturbing any sensitive habitats here. So denying this variance would be the most inequitable result. Again, tearing down a $4 million structure for a 4.2 foot mistake. In light of the good faith testified by Mike Smith, the negligible impact to the properties, we're respectfully requesting that you grant this variance. And in my letter, I proposed two resolutions. You can approve the variance straightforward as a 15-foot setback, or approve it with condition. Based on your comprehensive plan policy 1.8.6, approve it with the condition that if the home is ever destroyed in a hurricane or in a fire or a natural disaster, if it's destroyed more than 50%, that we will rebuild that home at the 20-foot setbacks if later the city council does find that the 20-foot setbacks is actually applicable. But I need to have a ruling on the actual variance, because without a variance, the home is not insured. They're going to be shooting off fireworks on 4th of July right at this point. We can't insure the property. It's hurricane season.
Well, unless we determine that the plat sticks, then he doesn't need it.
Absolutely, but I think this is an after the fact determination. Again, I don't disagree that the 15-foot variance, or the 15-foot is applicable here. We just need a ruling from this board on the current standards on our variance application, because again, we're sitting duck without insurance. Thank you.
Thank you. Close, the rebuttals are closing arguments for the other affected parties.
I just want to say that I really don't think that this council should rush into granting a variance tonight when it's clearly not entitled to a variance for this property. I mean, if this is what ends up happening, then that's fine. But tonight, you don't need to rush into granting a variance when it's not entitled to one.
One more point. We paid the application fee. We have the application submitted. It should be, we're requesting the board to make a decision tonight and make findings of fact as to the approval of that variance. Thank you.
We understand. Thank you. All right, I'm going to close the meeting, bring it to the table for discussion. Mr. Witt, do you want to say anything before we start discussing?
There's some very good points made on both sides here tonight. I'm not positive about what they said about the 15-foot setback in the original plat. You know, that's something I'd like to be able to look into, but I do think the board needs to make a decision tonight, one way or the other.
I'm sorry, what was that last sentence?
I said I do think the board needs to make a decision tonight.
Thank you. Okay.
My thought is there any way we can advise the rest of the people that own property there? Do they not get any input about this decision? Should we maybe check with them? I mean, is there some legal issue that we should check with every single person that owns property along that way?
This was their chance to be here tonight.
How were they notified?
The letters were sent?
Yeah, certified mail was posted on the property just like every
And how
other.
many of them responded?
We had several here at the planning and zoning meeting that came and spoke. One of them was Mr. Wolf and their family, and then another
So
family.
how do we know how that fell? Who really thought it was a good idea and who thought it wasn't? What's the percentages on that? I mean, you're saying, okay, some did, some didn't.
From the planning and zoning, they voted 3-2 to deny.
Okay, I understand that, but the individual property owner, what was their individual view on this?
We don't
What
know
percentage said yay or
each
nay?
individual property owner.
Why
right?
not?
Well, they didn't respond.
We didn't
That's it.
solicit.
What?
We know that there's at least a few property owners there that are against it, and I know that Mr. Smith, through his attorney, submitted 3 letters of support for it as well.
That are on that street.
That are on that street.
Lynn, anything else? I need to.
You know, I just feel like it was a terrible mistake. I think he's an honest man, a good builder and all that. And, you know, maybe he can come up with some creative way to fix this mistake. Because I think the term harmonious is an opinion, not a fact. And I think these people are going to be affected by it. And I'm very concerned about that.
Okay. Mr. Wolf, I'm sorry. Did you want to comment on this?
I mean, if you don't think it's self-inflicted, I bet you can't sleep next to a guy and watch him close his eyes. I guarantee it's self-inflicted and it's created a hardship for him. There's no doubt. I'm not too sure about making the decision tonight, Clint, with not knowing what we're gonna do on this. That's what holds me up. This could be, like the man said, it could be a savior right there. But we have to identify, if that's the way we go, we have to identify what lots are gonna be 15 foot and how we move forward from there. That's the best solution out of this. I don't wanna see the guy have to tear down I mean, if we had to vote right now, I mean, I wouldn't wanna see the guy have to tear down a house to the bottom. There's ridiculous. We need a solution, but I don't think it's gonna happen tonight. I'd suggest to table it and get it settled out.
Mr. Smith? Or were you, Mr. Wolf, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Smith, comments?
I got one, too. I think we need to resolve it tonight, because I believe the way this going, I probably shouldn't say this, when we get lawyers in the middle of something, like we got here, this is something my cup of tea. I don't like lawyers. Nothing against them, but I got one and I don't like him either. But what I'd like to say is, and I asked Bo, I would agree to support this if it wouldn't happen again. And he told us how we could do it and it not happen again. And that's what I would like. I would like to pass it, but under that we get Bo or somebody so this won't happen again ever. I've been against 3 of them and it's been mistakes. And we have come a long way. Because after the hurricane, they was up here all the time. But I think with Bo knowing what's going on in his crew now, because I was in there today and the little Miss Avery she was calling and getting that check on the setback. So I believe it could be handled, but we're gonna have to go through our bit to do it.
All right, well,
I was just gonna say, I enjoyed the last hour and 45 minutes, that's all.
I don't think you have any say so, I'm sorry, sir. I do want to, I feel for both sides. Of course, it's not a personal thing, this is a actual ordinance violation. I would like to give the variance. This gentleman has not done this on purpose by any stretch of the imagination, which I feel like the evidence does show that. But I also feel for the other parties that we probably need to bring this back and discuss this, how we can maybe work on finding out what Mr. McCahill review, and we go back into our ordinances and they need to be reviewed as well. I agree.
I mean, excuse me.
Go ahead.
I just think that Bo, what he said, you know, when I asked him, could this not happen again? And that's, we've had it happen since I've been here 3 or 4 times.
Right.
And he is the man, if he tells you his department will inspect, so this not happen again, it won't happen again.
And I think that we need to, I think we do need to look at processes. So I will open the floor for a motion to the variance.
And when you give that motion, you have to give the specific factual basis for it.
You have to tell why specifically you want.
Can you give me some explanation?
Well, based upon what you heard this evening.
Sounds good.
The arguments that we need to specifically
You
state.
gotta specifically tell why you feel you're want this motion, whichever one you motion is. Based on the evidence only, not on your personal opinion, not on my personal opinion, evidence only.
Well, I want to make sure that he gets the 138 Canal Parkway front setback variance. And for the reason, it'd be for the, there's a bunch of reasons. For the record, it'd be because the man, first thing he said when he, probably ain't good enough, when he got up there, he said he did it. There was no ifs, ands, and buts about it. And then the hardship of moving it was hundreds of thousands of dollars to move it to 4.2 foot. Is that enough, Clint?
I mean, is that the reason why you're doing it?
Yes. That's one of the reasons. There's a lot of them, but them two stuck in my mind, and I do think that we need to, whatever we need to do with both, we all, us can talk to him and make sure this don't happen again. I'd like to put that in whatever we do.
So you're not doing a motion yet?
Yes,
right?
I'm doing a motion to accept the variance at 138 Canal Parkway on the front setbacks.
I have a comment, but.
Yeah.
I just, I'm okay with, okay, so listen.
Do we need a second first?
You can second this for discussion.
Well, I don't want
And
to.
then you can just pull your second back if the discussion doesn't go the way you want it to go.
Do you want to pull your motion for
No.
the moment?
You have to have a second for the discussion.
Yeah.
What we
We have a second for